everybody. This is going to be a cover review slash I did something crazy video. This is a brand new cover that I just got from Leather Quill. It is an A5 cover, and I realize it doesn't look a whole lot like an A5 cover, and there's a reason for that. I needed a cover for my Jibun Techo, which is an A5 Slim, which for those of you who don't know, it's a little bit narrower than a standard A5, and it is a little bit taller than a standard A5, which is beyond infuriating trying to find a cover to fit. A standard A5 is 8 1/4 inches, and the Techo book itself is 8 1/2 inches tall. And then if you add the PVC cover that comes with it, if you want to keep it in there, which I do, that adds an extra 1/4 inch. So it's really 8 3/4 inches tall, which means finding a standard A5 cover that fits is a little bit tricky. I did try to put it in my Speckled Fawn's A5 Kodiak, which, in case you haven't noticed, I am an absolute addict. I love all things Speckled Fawns, especially Kodiak. I have a few, quite a few of their Kodiak covers in different sizes. I love it, love it, love it. However, they do design their covers to be pretty slim fitting. I don't know if that's quite the word for it. They design their covers to not have a whole lot of overhang after the inserts. So there's not a whole lot of extra space to play with vertically. Now, obviously, width-wise, it's fine because this is a standard A5 and the Techo is a little bit slimmer. Sorry, knocked my stand. But height-wise was a problem, especially because I want to keep it in this clear PVC cover, so I can change out, this is just a pretty scrap of paper that I have, so I can change that out seasonally as I desire, and I have this extra slide in, and that really kind of only works with the clear cover. So I tried to make this work. Unfortunately, vertically it just wasn't going to happen. It was scrunching the top way too much. The planer itself came right to the edge. So add in the plastic cover and it was scrunched down on the elastics. Too much for my preferences. As you can see, the elastics are a little bit further in than the edge, obviously. So for the sake of not destroying the PVC cover as well as really not damaging the elastics in here, I decided to set this aside and use it for something else and or sell it. I don't want to get rid of it, but I really don't know that I can come up with another use for it. So it did actually fit my Hobonichi cousin quite well, and I have my cousin in here for a long time, and that was fine. But the Techo is just a slightly different size. So I have been looking for a cover that is a little bit taller, that maybe is designed with a little bit more overhang for a standard A5. I've been told that standard wide traveler's notebooks fit. And it would, width-wise, it's exactly the right width, but height-wise, it's the same height as an A5. Standard wide is designed to fit 8 1/4 inch tall inserts. And again, the Techo's a little bit taller, and I don't want the PVC cover to really get, I mean, even in this, you can see it's a little bit squished. It's not as bad as it was in my Speckled Fawns. And I'm trying to avoid that as much as possible. So when I saw the measurements of this, I realized this has just a little bit extra vertical real estate. And it was ready to ship, which is my big pet peeve with leather covers. When they're custom, they take forever to get to me, and I am not a patient person. So I decided to go for it. It was on sale, and it was ready to ship, and it was a little bit taller, so I thought, I'll try it, see if it works. This is a beautiful buffalo leather, not buffalo, bison leather with a stiffer leather underneath that kind of makes this front pocket and also gives it a little bit more structure. The bison leather is extremely, extremely floppy. To give you an idea, this is the back, the unreinforced back, which is fine. I am probably, well, I'll get to that in a second. I'm going to fix that. And how I'm going to fix that is, well, I'll show you in a second. So, what I have done, in case you missed it on the thumbnail, is this was originally a part of this. This was originally right here because this is a standard, well, it would have been like this. This is a standard A5. And as such, there was quite a bit of overhang on the edge of my inserts, and I like my planers to fit with very little overhang. So what I did was I figured out that this was actually, well, hang on, let me take my inserts out and I'll be right back. Sorry, I should have deconstructed it before I came on to film. Basically it looked like this originally. I did rearrange the elastics. So here would have been the spine, as you can see. And the elastics were over more on the spine, so this wouldn't have been crunched like this. And this was the front. And so what I did was I basically wrapped it around my inserts and figured out how much I'd need to cut off to make it fit the way I wanted to fit. Cut this section off, which unfortunately contains their logo, but I'm going to keep this and maybe make a wrist bracelet out of it or something because it's pretty. Cut that off, and then as you can see, well, if you can see, I just punched more holes and restrung the elastics. These are the original holes. There was 3 original holes, so I used the rightmost original hole and punched 2 more holes and restrung it the same way that it had been strung. And trimmed this. I decided not to move this over. I decided to just leave it on the back a little bit because where it falls was almost right at the corner. So I'm one of those, I don't like my hole punch in the middle of the back, but this is right at the edge and it doesn't really interfere with rating. So I decided not to move it over just for the sake of not having to punch another hole in the leather. So I left that just basically a little bit off center, and as you can see, it's so floppy. There's no structure to it at all. I mean, it just folds like fabric. This, however, is a much stiffer piece. So it's nice and thick. And so I basically just cut it down and rounded the edges. I just used sewing shears because this is such a soft leather. I do have other means of cutting, box cutters and things like that, but I did not need to use it with this bison leather because it is so gloriously, wonderfully floppy. Now this back being this floppy is going to bother me. However, this is such a pretty cover. This is why I'm doing this surgery. It's a beautiful cover. It was a really good price, and it is tall enough to hold my Techo with the PVC cover on. So, for the sake of not having to search frustratingly anymore. Okay, so my mother-in-law is a crafter, and she has some leather scraps that will fit in this area, and I'm basically going to do the same thing on this side as is done over here with the sort of extra reinforcing. To kind of make this stiffer. I don't need an extra pocket or anything, and I wouldn't care that this was empty. But even with the books in it, you know, obviously it's just, you hold the elastic right here and it just flops. And that makes me crazy. So I'm going to stiffen that with another piece of leather, and bonus, it will give me an extra pocket back here. It's not really what I'm looking for, but it works. And I haven't really decided how I'm going to do that yet. I have a couple of different ideas of the size and everything that I want to use, but until I have the leather in my hands, I don't know. So that is what I'm going to do with that. And this actually works out quite well. I'm going to put it back together again, and I'll kind of show you how I have it set up. Okay. So I actually really like this. It's extremely functional. I didn't think I was going to use this front pocket. I usually don't. But it happens to fit that just right, and there is no pin loop, and I did not leave room for a pin loop. Short-sighted, scissor happy. So this actually works quite well to hold my pen, and I did, of course, add my charm. So this is what I have inside. This is the clear cover for the Jibun Techo, and I just have a an old Filofax ruler in the front pocket, and a piece of scrapbook paper with some succulents on it. I thought that was nice and summery. And, sorry, I'm trying not to show. I have some other people's personal information in here. some stencils in my front pocket, the idea book tucked into the front, as is designed to do. And then I've got the zipper pouch tucked into the back, and nothing in these currently, but I like having the option, as well as the page flags, or the stickies, whatever you want to call them. I really like these. They do fit perfectly. The one downside is they're not paper, and I thought they were. They are kind of almost, if you're familiar with the Post-it labels, or page flags rather. Let me see if I have them right here. Yes, I do. They're very similar to this material. It's not quite plastic and it's not quite paper. I don't know what it is. So my friction pens don't write on it. Anything that's like a liquid ink, it just beats right up on it. Ballpoints work okay, and Sharpie pens or Sharpie markers work okay, but gel pens, not so much. Which is kind of a little bummer that I have to have an extra pen to write on these, because I normally write with the gel pens. So that's a little irritating. However, whoops, there, sorry. They do fit perfectly right there, which is just, I love that. And I like how this is designed to overhang just enough. That's a nice touch. So I use that. And then of course there's this exterior pocket I do not have anything in right now. And then I've got my life book. That's on the first two strings. A string on the back cover and a string on the front cover, and I just do that for a little bit of extra stability and to do less damage to the cover. My life book on the next string, and then my son's lesson planner on the final string. I cut this down to be the same dimensions as the Techo, basically. So it was regular 8.5 by 11 paper that I had printed and folded and stapled together with all of my lesson plan stuff in it, and then I just trimmed the edges to where it would be the same dimensions and therefore fit in the planner. So I basically just held all of this together, wrapped this around, and held it where I wanted it to be as far as overhang is concerned, and then marked on the leather where I was going to cut it, and cut it. And just took the plunge. I figured, you know what? If it doesn't work out, it can just be a standard wide traveler's notebook for somebody. And I like it. I do. Like I said, I'm going to reinforce this back a bit. And I haven't decided if I'm going to do it on the outside or if I'm going to do it on the inside. Sorry, outside or inside. I don't know where I'm going to put the reinforcement yet. My mother-in-law sent me pictures of the leather she has, but it's so hard to tell color from somebody else's pictures. So once I see what she's got, I will decide whether I want it on the outside or the inside and how big of a reinforcing piece I want. Ideally, like I said, I don't care that it's a pocket or not, and I may turn it into pockets, but my goal is to get this to stop flopping. So I think just a couple of inches of a stiff enough leather when this is closed will keep it from flopping. I don't care that it flops this way when it's open. That doesn't bother me. What bothers me and what I'm trying to prevent is the flop of the corners while it's closed, because that's a good way to fold it back and, you know, accidentally damage the leather, which I do not want to do because it is way too pretty. So the only other thing that I'm kind of disappointed in myself in doing this, because I was really scared cutting this down. Obviously a leather planner cover is not cheap, even if it was on sale. I had also ordered a life inserted wallet insert to put in here to kind of make this, instead of having to carry a separate wallet, to make this sort of my go-to sort of grab and go situation. And of course it has not arrived yet because it is custom and it will take a month and a half to get here, because I ordered one of her specialty fabrics and it was not a ready to ship item. And I completely forgot that I had ordered it and intended to put that in here. So I, as you can see, didn't leave a lot of room for overhang. So yeah, I might, depending on how thick it really is and how much bulk it adds to this, I might wait to do the reinforcement until I get that and I can see how much bulk it's going to add, and if I need extra leather, what I might do is split this kind of like, and do it kind of like this, and use the reinforcement to add a little bit of extra length. I wish I hadn't have cut quite as much off as I did. It works fine like this. Like, it's perfect as I did it. I just wasn't thinking before I cut this strip off about the wallet insert. I should have left an extra maybe ½ inch of leather. I should have maybe only cut off 1 inch. But you know, you live and learn. It's still beautiful. I'm still happy with it, and I will post an update video once I figure out the final finished product. So there you go. I was brave. I cut down a leather traveler's notebook. Woohoo, go me. So if you're looking for a leather cover for your Jibun Techo, Leather Quill does make theirs a smidge taller than a lot of companies do, and it is functional. It does still squish, I don't know if you can see, it does still squish the plastic a little bit, but it is much better than the others that I have tried. Down here it doesn't even really squish at all. So you can see, I don't know if this is focusing or not. See, that doesn't squish the plastic at all. It's only squishing it at the top where I have it shoved up. So this is definitely a good option. And they have sales all the time, and they have some really pretty leathers. So this might be an option for you. So check them out, and I will see you guys next time.